wanted to film my yearly reset, my planning for the upcoming year, how I set my goals. So what I did is I started with a little cacao ceremony just to get in the right mood, reflect on what I've already reached, and I'm hoping to share some goal setting with you. The first thing I do is I download a Wheel of Life template. The Wheel of Life is a coaching tool which helps you to visualize the balance in your life, setting the goals for each of the parts of the wheel. As you can see for mine is that it's a little bit out of balance. First I colored where I'm at right now, and then I grayed out the goals. So for some of them I want to increase more than others. As you can see, my health and fun and recreation part is already scoring pretty well, and some other parts have a lower score. This is something which helps me to see what I've already reached, and it also helps if you reflect on each of the areas. So just thinking like, what did I already do to get to my current score, and what can I do? Which concrete steps can I take to improve the score on those parts? For example, let's focus on the health and fitness piece, which I scored with an 8 out of 10, and my goal is the 10. And now I think about like, what does it look like when I've hit the 10, and how can I make sure to reach those steps? So to improve my health and fitness, I want to focus on running more frequently, and I also narrow it down. So running more frequently is too broad. I would say running, for example, 3 times a week for at least half an hour. So that's what I write down, 3 times a week, at least 30 minutes. My ultimate goal in the health and fitness department is a 6-pack. So that's what I write down, a 6-pack. How will I reach this 6-pack? Because that's like my clear picture I have in my mind. If I look like that, I have reached this 10 out of 10 score. And a big part of it is my food intake. Less junk, more real food, I would say in general. For me, this also means my intermittent fasting goal. So intermittent fasting, 19/5, which means 19 hours of not eating, drinking only water and tea without sugar, and 5 hours eating window. At some point, I would say at Q2 of the year, I would love to be at 20 hours over 4. Maybe even with a 36 hours fast at the beginning of the week. And I can go through all of these of my wheel, doing the same. For fun and recreation, that would be my cello practice. How often do I practice? What are my goals there? For the money and finances, currently the score is 6 out of 10. Not just because the income that I have, but mainly because of my spending habits. I tend to buy all the new gadgets out there, and I get seduced by all the Facebook and Instagram ads. Tracking my spendings would be a very good habit for me to start building. Spirituality, I'm 6 out of 10 right now. My goal is 8. To get there, I want to start meditating daily, at least 2 times 2 minutes. My tip for goal setting, and especially for habits, is to start small. Because if I would put down right now that I want to be meditating for a half an hour, it's a nice goal and a nice habit. I would probably stick with it 1 week, but then it gets too big. And then when you don't do it for the 1 day, the second day it doesn't matter anymore. With these kind of small habits, you start improving more and more, and especially if you set very small goals, it's easy to overdo it. For example, with my reading habit, if you start reading and your goal is to read 1 page a day, you will find yourself doing more pages most of the days. Not all of them. Someday 1 page is already a lot, but for most days you will be reading more. And the same it is with meditation. I think with sports that's also a very good example, like doing push-ups. It's nice to set a push-up goal for 50 a day, but if you set a goal to do a habit for 1 month of 1 push-up a day at a minimum, you will probably do more most of the days. Partner in love, I'm at a 7 out of 10 right now. I want to get to 8. Family and friends, 6 out of 10, and I want to get to an 8. Community is one of my lower scoring ones, but that's also one that I am not really planning to focus on too much in the upcoming quarter, because I feel like I already have enough to do in the other pieces. And environment, I think it also depends on the meaning you give to it. So for me, that's my home, the places where I am and work. So at a 5 out of 10 right now, I want to get to a 7, getting things more organized. For my goal setting, this is what I start with, turning it into real habits and goals. And then I start to fill out my full focus planner. Of course, you can use a different system. I've been a full focus plan for probably 2 years now, and I always love to start a new quarter with a fresh one. I've just flown to the US, and being in an airplane is also a good spot to work on goal setting and reflecting, because you don't have an internet connection if you don't pay. So it gave me a good moment to already fill out some of them. For example, when looking at my running goals, my goal is to run 2022 kilometers in 2022. Participate at least 1 day in the sub 11 city. Practice learning Finnish every day to get confident enough to speak it. To close all tabs and turn my computer off every day. Play a board game at least once a week with the kids. Maybe a board night or maybe on Saturday afternoon. And share a new video on YouTube weekly. So in the full focus planner, what you start with is setting your smarter goal. And the aim is for your goal to be specified and something you can really measure. So if I would say running more frequently or run more, how much is it, when? The more you specify it, the better it is. So for me, that means with my running goal, I specified by when and how many kilometers. And then you write down your key motivations. So that could be clearing my mind, running longer distances, getting quicker at my 5 kilometers. The next steps, and in this case it's really making sure it's things you can do, and the smaller they are, the easier it is. For such a big goal, which is a yearly goal, I like to break it down in quarters. So for 2022 kilometers, that means running quarter 1, doing 506. And if I want to run 506 kilometers, or maybe I could even break it down in months, it's 168 and a half per month. Of course, you don't have to break it down in a way that each month you do the same amount of kilometers. Maybe you already think, well, in the winter time it's easier to run more, so your goals for the winter months can be higher compared to the months that you're maybe planning to have a holiday. And I also like to start my week off with a run, so Mondays I could do a bit less, and then maybe catch up on Thursdays with a longer run again. So now I know that I need to do 4 runs a week. I've already narrowed down the amount of kilometers, so I could calculate how much time it really takes. My reward for the whole year, my goal would be buying a new gadget. I can set a goal for my first quarter if I reach the first one. Maybe buying new running shoes or new running pants, something to wear, running gear. The other goals for the second, third and fourth quarter are things that I will put in the other planners as soon as this goal moves from my first one to the second one. In the bottom it has a streak tracker, so you can track it along if it's a daily habit. I will show you another example, which is the close all tabs and turn my computer off every day. So it's a goal for my Workday shut down habit, to close off my work physically, to be more present. My other motivations are avoid still thinking about unfinished work, make it harder to get back on my computer, have a clear ritual to end my workday and make it easier to start focused the next day. The next step are writing down open to-dos at the end of my day, saving links instead of keeping tabs open, set timers when working to stay on the task, and design a clear end of the workday ritual. My reward after 1 month would be to have lunch with myself. And in this planner you can also mention your daily rituals. So this is also where I created my workday shutdown ritual, which includes writing down my to-dos for the next day, saving the links for open tabs, checking email one last time, and then saving open documents and files and shutting down my computer, of course. And I'm currently working on my ideal week. And this is where it probably comes all together. So especially if you've considered your whole reset and planning your goals for the next year, you also need to consider how will it fit into my week, because you can only spend your time once and you choose how you spend your time. So when people ask me how do you manage to run so much even when you have 4 kids, well, that means that maybe not every day my laundry gets folded and put back in the closet because I prioritize my running on that day. So this is how I look at my week. I'm creating an ideal week, which doesn't mean that every week will look like this one, but it's helpful to visualize the amount of hours your day have, especially once you start focusing on getting enough sleep. You really notice that your day has limited hours. You can start by marking down everything which is set. Things like school drop off, school pick up, work hours, sports, music lessons, things like breakfast, dinner time. So those are hours I already know how they will be spent, where they will be spent, and that I cannot plan anything else on those hours. And then I start by filling in the things that bring me joy, because if I start by filling it in with work-related stuff, other goals, I know that I won't have enough hours left or not a good balance with whatever brings me joy. So I start with filling it with my cello practice, running. As I mentioned, I already decided that I would need to break my running down into 4 runs. I know how much time those runs would take, so now I can plan them into my perfect week. I already added my stand-up paddling training, things like having dinner with my parents, time with my boyfriend. Then I can start looking at my work hours. I luckily am able to plan most of my hours flexible for work, not all of them, but most of them. So now I can start looking at when will I be working. Do I first go for a run and then work, or do I start with working then run? And looking at intermittent fasting, this is also where I can schedule the hours that I won't be eating and when my fast will break. to be able to fit the dinner with the kids inside of my eating schedule. Another thing that I find helpful is to imagine yourself living your best life and then write down what it would look like. Who is this person that you see when you think of yourself living your best life? What does she do? What does she eat? What habits does she have? And then write it down in the present tense. I know this sounds super cheesy. And probably if you are like me and watched 1,000 YouTube videos and listened to all the self-help books, you might have already heard this before. But you can really watch all the videos you want. But if in the end you don't start thinking like this ideal person that you are becoming, you will start falling back in old habits. So make sure you write it down in the present tense. You can do this before you start setting your goals. So you know which kind of steps you want to take, which habits you feel you need. And if there's any decisions you need to take during the day, for example, you're going out for lunch and you're trying to decide which lunch to get, you can also think like, what would this ideal person take for lunch? What would she do? Would she go for the salad or would she go for the French fries and pizza? Well, my favorite food is pizza with French fries, but maybe in my ideal world, I would really go for the salad. I will probably go through my planning habit with you in a different video to show you how I set it up for the week and then my weekly review. Because building this habit of looking in your planner daily, at least twice, so at the start of your day and at the end, that's the most helpful thing to make sure you hit your goals. So don't neglect it. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I would love to see your wheel of life and how you are finding the balance in it. There are online versions where you can color it online or just Google it and find one to print out on paper. For your habit building and planning, I would say it's always helpful to write down on paper because your brain just deals with it differently. If you prefer an online method, you can combine both, but I would start with using it on paper first. Thank you for watching.